great. How are you? So we are going to take one more, and then we're going to wrap it up.
Talk to the candidates.
He's here. Oh,
Okay.
have a seat, sir.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, each candidate had an opportunity to introduce themselves.
Okay.
Tell a little bit about yourself, why you're returning.
Okay.
Or running again for your role.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, I'm Councilman Julian Jones. I'm actually the chair of the Baltimore County Council. And it is my honor and privilege to be here. It's always good to see civic engagement, see people here checking the candidates out. I was born and raised in East Baltimore, grew up to a middle-class family. Mother taught school for 36 years. My father was in Bethlehem Steel for 43 years. Went to the University of Maryland, Baltimore County, where I received a Bachelor of Science degree in Information Systems. I joined the fire department in 1985. I actually moved here in this community in 1985. And ran for office the first time, came up short by 98 votes, came back again and won in 2014. So I've been on the council since 2014. What are some major accomplishments that I think that are important that I contributed to here in the Woodlawn area? Starting with the Woodlawn Bridge. The Woodlawn Bridge was removed prior to me taking office, and one of the first things that happened when I took office, people said, you know, the bridge is gone, and there was a lot of confusion, and I realized what the bridge, you know, how important the bridge was to the community, and I made a pledge at that time that I would do everything in my power to replace the bridge. So if anyone's been paying attention, we made an announcement a couple of days ago that the bridge is going to be replaced this year at the tune of some $400,000. Emmett Burns came to me when I first took office and said it was very important that he wanted to widen and put some sidewalks and curbs and gutters on Windsor Mill Road. That was my top priority that budget year. He and I both went to the county executive. I explained to the county executive how important it was to our community, and we were able to secure funding to widen Windsor Mill Road from Woodlawn Drive up to the first leg will take us up to Featherbed Lane, then the second leg will take us all the way up to the Brent. That's just a few of the accomplishments that I was involved in here. Of course, we are about to embark on a $60, $70 million renovation of Woodlawn High School. But to make a long story short, not to take too much time, I've worked very hard since I was elected to councilman. I've worked very hard every day to make sure that everything I did brought nothing but the utmost respect to our community. And I worked hard each and every day. I put out a yearly report with the literally hundreds and hundreds of constituent calls that we take care of. And this year I was elected the first African-American chairman of the Baltimore County Council. I did that by working well with my colleagues and providing the type of leadership for our community that everybody can be proud of. So I stand very strong with my record, everything I've done for the community, and all the causes that I've championed throughout the community. And I can go on and on and on in terms of whether it be protecting our community from the influx of too many Section 8 houses, whether it be working to make sure the Universal Circus return to Security Boulevard, but you name it, that it's not many things that take place in our community, especially in Baltimore County, that I have not been involved in. Most people know that I'm a strong supporter of Relita White. I went to the school board several occasions to ask them to please appoint her. I've been on the news saying those things. So I've made it my business to make sure that our community was well represented and well heard on all the important matters that take place here in Baltimore County. So with your support, I look forward to it. I will be returning to Towson, and I certainly hope you all would consider returning. Thank you very much for your time and attention, and God bless all.
Thank
Thank you so much.
Very welcome. And we have one more candidate. I think it's important, at least you see all the candidates, and whatever time is left, we will then do for questions. Mr. George White.
Oh, yes. Well, good evening, everyone. I won't take up much time. My name is George White, and I'm running for the Democratic Central Committee in District 44, 44B. Since the age of 12, I've been part of the process. As they mentioned earlier, these districts, before they draw all these lines, we started in Baltimore City, and we began to, our parents taught us, and we began to work in the background since the age of 12, and then gradually I moved through the city, out here in the county. I've been out here now about 25 years. I've always supported candidates that were running, from everybody that's always run, I've always been behind the scenes. And eventually you get kind of tired of saying, they ought to do something. So on my 65th birthday, September the 1st, I went and I registered to become mayor. So now I'm out here running. Also, I found out during running, we find that the Central Democratic Committee, if you guys have been voting on that for years, but I think a lot of folks don't really realize what we do in the Democratic Central Committee. We are they call us the worker bees. We are the worker bees. We are the glue in the community between the community and the politicians. A lot of times our elected officials, which we are elected to, but the ones at the top, they go to Annapolis, and sometimes they kind of forget about us in the trenches. So the Central Committee, we're the backbone, and we're the glue between the community, and I take this back to our elected officials. But over the years, a lot of the politicians have been running dual seats. That means they've been running for their Senate or the delegate seats, and they've been running for the Central Committee seats as well, which is really unfair because there's nobody groomed to kind of move through the ranks. That's why it's a stagnant in there when something happens. You don't know the next leader that's coming up because, for the lack of a better explanation, is like our leaders, they want to drive the bus and they want to see it as a passenger on the same bus, which is not fair because they aren't grooming us to move through the ranks. So I decided to put my name in the race, and a couple of years ago, my wife and I, we always have been community activists. Okay, so about 2 years ago, we started a ministry called Connect the Dots, and we connect people in the community with stuff. So every other day, I pick up about $1,000 worth of bread from Panera Bread, and I deliver it to homeless shelters, food pantries, from the county to the city. I'm a retired military person. I wind up, most of you guys have heard of McVets downtown. It's a housing building for veterans. They house 189 vets in the building. 89 of them are females, 100 are males. But I start with our delivery of bread out here and desserts. Matter of fact, my bagels smell like a baby. And I deliver it. But anyway, I want to continue those activities. What I had to do as a Democratic...
May I have your attention, please? Storyville will be closing in 10 minutes at 8 o'clock. If you get
Thank you, everyone. You've heard the announcements. We have exactly 10 minutes. And this particular forum is specifically for District 1 candidates. I know there's some other candidates in the room, but we've been asked to keep it to District 1 and to take these last few minutes before we all have to go out to see if there are any questions that someone may have. Now, we know we won't be able to take everyone, okay? But let's try to be very specific for the question, and those that are responding, try to make it as succinct as possible because I see 3 hands already, okay? I'm gonna start right here. The sooner we can do it, right here, the young lady in the purple. Let's have your attention so that we can hear.
I thought this forum was great, absolutely great. I enjoyed hearing from everybody. I heard a lot of things about education. A couple things that stand out is we have to come together. I mean, this is great. I see so much diversity. And, well, let me go to my issue, is I have lived in District 1 for 25 years, more than 25 years. In a quarter of a century, not one time have I been invited to, have I been notified of, or I have heard of a town hall meeting. I live in a community that doesn't have a homeowners association, doesn't have a neighborhood association, nothing. So I get no information. You said that we get half-truths. I don't even get that. Consequently, my representatives don't know my issues. I have tried to express my issues, and in the 21st century, I get blocked on social media. So consequently, doesn't even know my issues. So my question is to Ms. Ruth, will you commit to having town hall meetings, bring the entire district together? It's a very diverse district. If we could all come together, we could solve racial issues. I mean, we're diverse not only racially, but economically and religious. I mean, that's a good way to bridge the divide that's in America today.
Thank you. Would
So
you like to
will you commit to that?
Yes, absolutely, and in fact, I did say that in my introduction. I will commit to holding a town hall my first month in office, and then regularly thereafter, changing the location so that we will be meeting different people in different parts of the district, but I hope that each of the town halls will attract people from all through the district, because as you say, we need to bring people together. I also commit to not blocking anyone on social media and to find ways to communicate with my constituents, email, newsletters, social media.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. Young lady in the flowered shirt, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
This is for Sheila and for Tom Quirk. I realize that there's got to be a balance somehow, and I'm really perplexed with this. A balance between what's happening in development with people developing the communities and money that the council is awarding to corporations for development versus what's actually happening in the community with education. We need a balance. And my questions to you are, recently I read that the council has awarded $130,000, this is just chump change really, to the Sinclair Broadcasting Group, which is a right-wing broadcasting group, and they're going to have a monopoly in our area because they have a $1.3 million from the state and $130,000 from the county. My question is, couldn't that money have actually gone to schools to hire teachers? Or couldn't that money have gone to social programs rather than to this group? Where's the balance here between what we need to do in the community and development?
Social welfare.
And social welfare.
If you let him respond, and then the other.
Is that corporate welfare?
And we also have one other candidate as well for District 1 too, so I did want to mention that. Yeah, my name is Councilman Tom Quirk. In regard to town hall meetings, I see some of the people in this room were recently at a town hall meeting that I organized along with the Wilkins Police and Community Relations Organization, specifically on opioids. We had about 125 people pack the Arbutus Library. In addition, between Margaret Stokes and Kathy Ingers and between Pete Prescumas, no one, absolutely no one can say we're not out in the community 24/7. Believe me, the one thing I know, people know who Margaret Stokes is. They know Kathy Ingers, they know Pete Prescumas. I go to dozens and dozens of meetings all the time. And community meetings, community association meetings, political meetings, there's hundreds and hundreds of meetings that happen every year. So to suggest otherwise is just wrong. In regard to business, I do believe that we have to work with business because a lot of the loans that happen are what's called conditional loans. So if they stimulate enough jobs and the jobs are brought in, conditioned on that, then it helps provide a tax base because jobs bring in a tax base. If we want schools and if we want government programs, well, guess what? We have to pay for them. How do we pay for them? Property taxes, income taxes. Where do income taxes and property taxes come from? Jobs. So it's really, really important that we work in conditional lows, bring in different businesses that are going to bring more jobs to the area. That's precisely how we're going to pay for education. Thank you for that.
Okay, thank you. Young lady,
I just wanted to mention that the library doesn't close at 8, only story buildings. So if you want it to end, it can end. I just wanted to make sure you know.
I'd like to hear from.
I like to hear from, y'all done had 3 women and I ain't hear from one.
but they were the ones who raised their hand first, so I'm going.
I was
with
behind
that.
you, you missed me.
And let me finish with the young lady behind. Did you not have any
That's all I
other
wanted
questions?
to say.
Okay, thank you. All right, you want to reply?
Sure. This is a really difficult issue, and this is one where, as an activist, I would be sitting with you demanding the same thing. But as a potential council person, I would have to represent everybody in the district, and it's a difficult issue. And I think, you know, in making these kind of decisions, you have to weigh the benefits versus the potential harm to the community. There's definitely benefits from this in terms of jobs. The harm is, you know, allowing a media outlet that may not actually be a media outlet, that's more propaganda, to have a greater foothold in our county. You know, but then I look at it and I say, what if it were a left-wing media outlet? And I'm very strongly left. And, you know, I could see how there would be people upset about that as well. So the bottom line is I don't know the answer. I think it's something that bears a lot more thought. You know, maybe the answer is that we shouldn't be giving money to any media outlets because people's tax dollars shouldn't be used to support, you know, any kind of potential ideology that they may not agree with. I don't know if that's the answer, but it's definitely something I would look into.
Thank you, Ms. Ruth. Gentleman in the hat.
My name's Shorty, I'm an activist.
Shorty, can I give you this?
I can speak loud, they hear me.
All right.
My name's Shorty, I'm a community activist. My activism is homelessness and prisoners' right advocacy. In this room, our elected officials for the last 20 years do not deal with criminal justice. Your crime plan is lock up, lock up, lock up. When you closed the housing in Baltimore City and you gave vouchers to Baltimore County, you built your Baltimore County prison industry. My question is, what are my elected officials, Mr. Julian, Mr. Quirk, the ones that are sitting in office and been sitting in office, going to do about race and racism in 2018? Because you treat it like an autistic child and you keeping it in the attic, and you're not addressing it.
Thank you, sir, for your question.
I'll
start
answer,
with Mr.
answer.
Jones, and then I'll come to Mr. Quirk. Yes, sir.
I'm not 100% sure what to do about racism.
Talk about it.
Well,
Yeah.
that's an issue that is old as all of us here and clearly as old as this country.
And it
I
exists.
certainly don't condone it. I don't approve of it. And I work very hard with everyone I come in contact with to make sure that I don't see it. When I do see it, I act on it. Whenever it's within my privilege, whenever it's something that I have an opportunity to do. I don't know what else, real quickly, I voted for the Sinclair Broadcasting. At the same time, we voted for Black & Decker. I don't approve of what Sinclair Broadcasting is about. I do recognize that, unfortunately, we're living in a time where,
close at 9 o'clock. Thank you.
you know, our vote would have stopped the $1.3 million from coming to somebody who promises to hire 324 people. And, you know, that's important. Those 324 people won't care whether or not Sinclair Broadcasting is on the right or the left. They're looking for a job to feed their
It's
family.
the issue of
Wait,
the monopoly.
please, we're not gonna, we have to, and Mr. Quirk can respond.
Y'all gotta answer my question. Y'all still on my
See,
question.
yep, that's just two people you asked.
I don't know
Yes.
if Councilwoman Almond wants to say something about that. I'll tell you what, racism, if anybody says it doesn't, we don't have issues, then they're just not paying attention. Because clearly there's issues between people for many different reasons. And what I try to do as a council person is really go and talk to people very directly. For example, in the Muslim community, I can't even tell you how many mosques I've been to in the last 8 years. When President Obama came, I had the privilege and honor of being there along with all my Muslim friends. I have many, many friends in the Muslim community, strong partnerships. We work hand in hand. when there's a flare-up, we make sure we have the local police, watching everything, make sure there's no issues. In the African-American community, me and Julian Jones, we work super closely together. Kenny with Shirley Nathan Napoleon, with the whole team, we really work together. We communicate. When we have an issue at Woodlawn, for example, we have 2 votes for Woodlawn. We have Julian Jones and myself. 99.8% of the time, Julian and I are voting together. Right here. And so I believe the only way we overcome racism is we literally talk face to face, eye to eye, and make sure that we're working hand in hand. And that's my pledge to everybody in this room. We do it in Baltimore County. We definitely work together. We talk together. I don't know if Councilwoman Almond want to say anything?
Just
Lord.
stating that I think it's about
They
building relationships, about listening and talking. In touring Baltimore County, my run for county executive, I've met so many incredible people from incredible walks of life, and I feel privileged to have done so. I think that says it all.
Thank you. I'm taking 2 more. Young lady here, hand has been up, and then this gentleman here, and you'll be the last one, ma'am. Okay. Yes,
This
ma'am.
question is directed to those on the county council and running for county council and running for county executive, since they hold the purse strings to the county. I'm curious to know what their opinion of the STAT program is in the Baltimore County Public School System. Over $200 million so far, and by next year, every single student, 1 through 12, will have their own device, with very little evidence so far of its success, and a lot of anecdotal evidence from parents and teachers that is a major distraction to the students and their learning.
Do you have a specific
So
candidate? There's
what-
several people, so why don't you identify maybe at least 2 that you'd
Well,
like to
I'll start with
respond?
Johnny O, since he's staying in the corner here with
Sure.
me.
Look, I think it's a misplaced priority. And when we talk about our needs of our kids, it has to be Maslow's hierarchy of needs. When we have kids who aren't in safe, comfortable learning environments, we shouldn't be investing hundreds of millions of dollars in a program that, as you pointed out, is questionable in its success. As county executive, I'll commit to make sure those dollars are invested where it matters most. We had this fight about Lansdowne and Delaney. I think it's actually closer to $300 million. You take that money and the 50-50 match we get with the state for school construction, that's $600 million on the table that we could have done to invest in our kids in different ways, in the school infrastructure, and teachers, and school counselors, the things that we know that work. I actually... I have that effect on people. I have that effect on people. I'm all for appropriate use of technology in the classroom as a teacher, but I don't think first graders, and certainly in the earlier levels, I have big concerns about there. We have to equip our kids to be able to learn in a modern, economy. But I think there are better ways of doing it than being equipped every day and being distracted in that way. I think there are ways we can have carts and we can have sort of mobile classrooms that allow kids to have those opportunities without investing hundreds of millions of dollars when we have other needs that we should be prioritizing and focusing on.
Thank you so
And
much.
can I hear from Tom Quirk on that one too, please?
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a matter of balancing and a matter of prioritization. And while I do like STAT and digital devices with our kids, it's a question of how do we stretch a dollar? Because in politics and in government, it's always a battle for scarce resources. There's unlimited demands and very limited resources. And we are fighting right now for Lansdowne High School. We're fighting for Woodlawn High School. We're fighting for a lot of infrastructure projects that are paid for out of our capital budget. And then, of course, out of our operating budget, that's how we're funding STAT. And it is a big number. I know Councilman Jones is a very strong believer in STAT. I don't know if he wants to talk about it a little bit. But I think in today's technology, in today's era, all our kids are growing up with computers. Computers are all around. So we need to make sure our kids know how to use them, not just the wealthy and privileged, but the people that don't have the money. I tell you, I go to libraries, libraries like this one. You look around, look how many kids are using the computers here. Well, I think they should be using them in schools too. So I have a little bit different view on this. I think we have to balance, we have to prioritize, but I also think our kids need to know how to use computers. I don't know if Councilman Jones wants to chime in.
I'll be real brief. Listen, you can say anything you want, but in 2018, computers is where the kids' attention are. You can do so much more with computers. For example, with computers real fast, a teacher can look and see what every student is doing and make sure every student has the message he's trying to convey versus waiting for a kid to raise his hand. And like Councilman Quirk said, every kid don't have access to a computer. unfortunately, that's where we are. So it's important that when we bring kids to school, we make sure they have all the tools that every kid has. Because in this digital environment that we live in, you know, if we don't move forward in terms of computers, I mean, we're doing a disservice to our kids. You can do so much more. And real quick, well, this is politician quick.
That's one thing you are good at.
In terms of the money, no one can say that Baltimore County over the last 8 years is not doing everything it can to modernize our schools. We spend 52 cents on every tax dollar in our schools. If you add in the libraries and the community college, that's 60% of every tax dollar going to some form of education. And you look at the number of air conditions that were done. Over 90 schools without air conditioning 8 years ago. Now we're down to like 10 or 12, and they'll be done in a couple of years. So we're spending an awful lot of money on our schools, not to say that it's not necessary, but as Councilman Quirk said, there's a lot of need in our community. We have police officers riding around with 20-year-old motorcycles.
Thank you, Councilman Jones.